I think that's scary as well. Now, you see, let's say it's not uncommon these days, but let's say that you're managing $1 billion. $1 billion. Who in this room could live off $20 million a year? Okay. Let me tell you one quick story. Is it okay if I tell you a story? Okay. Is it okay if I tell you a story? Thank you. I have a friend, my friend Paul. His company does over $300 million a year in sales. And Paul was being entertained by some merchant bankers who basically wanted to take his private company and make it a public company. So what they did is they flew Paul over to London, first class. When they picked him up, they didn't pick him up in a small limo. It was a stretch limo that he said might could have fit 2 families in it. And then they whisked him off to his chalet, and then for 3 nights he went out for lunch and dinner. And what he told me is the appetizers started at $100 a piece. The dinners were somewhere between $300 and $500 a piece. And the bottles of wine and champagne started at $1,000 a piece. So Paul went, and I saw him a few weeks later. And I said, Paul, how was your time in London? And he said, Mike, I had a fantastic time. They were the nicest guys in the world. And I said, but what about your business? How did you do? And he said, well, I would never in a million years do business with people who spend money like that. Okay? Because not only that, the chalet was over $3,000 a night, the limo, the whole bit. Now, when I said $20 million plus expenses. You see, you are paying for the $100 appetizers, the first class ticket, the $300 to $500 dinners, and the $1,000 plus bottles of wine and champagne. What I'm a firm believer of is I realize that funds and the financial services industry has to do business, and certainly there's entertainment. However, what I've seen happen is I believe that they've gone too far, and as a matter of fact, there's just far too much abuse. Who also feels the same way? And it's your money, and it's not right, and it's unfair. And so those are the type of things, those are the things I want you to have awareness of. Now the final thing, and then we're just going to do full-on economy. But you have just inherited $100,000. Okay? You call your financial advisor, and they're more excited than you are. All right? Now I want you to help me finish this word. All right? What we have to do is we have to spread the risk over many asset classes. We have to diversify. One more time. We have to spread the risk over many asset classes. We have to diversify. Yes. Okay, let me show you what. By the way, I'll get Warren Buffett to help me out first, okay? Here's what Warren says. Diversification is for those people who have no idea what they're doing in the markets. Diversification is for those people who have no idea what it is that they're doing in the marketplace. You see, what happens at the end of the day is your financial advisor will put $25,000 in a high-tech fund, $25,000 in a bond fund, $25,000 in a commodities fund, $25,000 in a precious metal fund, and at the end of the day, 2 go up, 2 go down, and you basically perform the market average minus the management expense fee. And you see, if you have one set of behavior that you do over and over and over again, and you get one result, and you do that same behavior over and over again and expect a different result, what's that called? Yes! You see, when I explain it like this and I keep it very, very simplistic, what I hope to do is to drive behavioral changes. So that some of you will start reflecting upon how it is that you invest. Because I can teach you all about the world. I can teach you all about the economy. But if you don't change your behavioral patterns, you're not going to make the money that you want to make. Now, I'm going to give you an example in a few moments of how I've taken many people with small net worths of 10 or 20,000 and built them up to several hundred thousand. And people that had net worths, of modest net worths of 100,000, something like that, and built them up to multi-millions of dollars. And I'm going to show you a real live sample of how that was done. I am what is referred to as a trend investor. Okay? At the beginning, you guys gave me a lot of information. It's all in my head. I'm going to cover off as much of that as I possibly can. And what happens with trend investors is they look at what's going on in the macro markets based on what's happening in the macro markets. What are the trends that they see emerging? Based on what trends they see emerging, what are the very best investment opportunities within that trend? So here's what happened. Here's what happened. I started up I was overseas and I came back and someone asked me about offshore. So I'm gonna handle the offshore part. This isn't exactly the part you want me to handle, but let me just talk about the offshore part that I was aware of and what happened. Is I was overseas, I was traveling, and what I used to do before I ran the Freedom Investment Club is I used to buy buildings, stratify them, and sell off the individual condominiums. Did very well at that, made a lot of money. What'd I do? I went traveling. Went to India, lived in India for 6 months, China, many different countries, all throughout Europe. And when you're young, you think a lot of times you can travel forever, but after you're on the road for a while, you eventually get burned out and you think, I got to go back home and start something new. And what happened at that point was a number of my friends, when I came home, were all fighting with one another. They were all having problems. So what I found out was one friend put his money into an excellent, as he defined it, offshore opportunity. He put $10,000 into this offshore opportunity, and he was collecting $1,000 a month. And he had been doing that for 12 months. So he had $12,000 on his $10,000 investment. And then what happened in just 12 months? What happened is he started to tell all my other friends. And not all of them, but a number of them ended up getting involved and writing checks and getting involved as well. And then in month 15, boom, all interest payments stopped. In month 15. And what happened is everyone lost their money. Now, there's a gentleman in a federal penitentiary, and it's rare they get them, by the name of Trevor Waj,